Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome once again to another episode of Jim's 5am Club. Yesterday morning we were treated with a magnificent sunrise where the horizon was glowing orange yellow, and today, just one day later, we've got overcast skies, a bit of drizzle. Looks like it'll be raining all day today, and another day of opportunity for each and every one of us to make the most of what comes our way. So for those who know me well, every day I get up and catch the bus into Circular Quay. I go through and do a book summary on the bus, excuse me, where I read one of the thousands of free book summaries that's available on the internet, summarise it into my words, and then come down here and find a vantage point around the harbour. And I've got to admit, this is my favourite haunt, because I can come up here. It's out of the elements, out of the rain, out of the wind, and I'm perched up nice and high here, and I can get a nice vantage point to use, to showcase, to highlight the beauty of this magnificent city of Sydney, and to overlay it with a message of empowerment, where we can go through a book summary using and leveraging OPE, other people's experience, and to try and incorporate those life hacks, those learnings into our day, so that we too can become better step by step, inch by inch, and be able to take on the many challenges that we all individually and collectively face, and try and lead a better life, a life that has more meaning, has more love and more contribution. So today's book summary is one based on relationships, because we do cover various topics in Jim's 5am Club. There are tricky topics, there are fun topics, there are technical topics, but today's topic is one on relationships. And the book that I'm going to cover is entitled Happy Together by Suzann Pileggi Pawelski and James Pawelski. So it looks like it's a husband and wife team who have captured their learnings and are sharing them with all and sundry who wish to be informed and wish to learn. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be successful at anything, you need coaching, and you need to learn from the mistakes and from the successes of others, because those around us pose as warnings or as examples. They pose as examples of what to do in order to generate successful and notable outcomes. And there are also couples and people who express themselves and hold themselves out as being as being warnings in terms of what not to do, because if you go down a particular path, you may end up experiencing their disappointments, their pain, their suffering. As you can see, as you can hear, the rain is starting to pelt down now. Thank God I've got an umbrella to be able to get you back to the station without getting soaked. And it looks like I may get an early day off work today. We may get rained off. So these authors kick off their book summary and their book with an observation where they say, and this is a great point, they say rather than believing in fairy tale endings, now we are better off believing in brave beginnings and informed efforts to make real relationships in the real world. There are many people, many young people, one could imagine, and we've all been through this, whose understanding or whose belief in terms of relationships is based on what they've read in fairy tales, stories that they've seen, movies that they've seen, where it's all just princesses and princes, so to speak. But the reality of life is that relationships are tough, and we need to live them in this real world. And the authors here make a valid statement that relationships are both complex and complicated, just bringing us to a point of understanding, a point of common understanding, that things are not as rosy as what one may think or how things may appear. Because couples, families put on masks to the outside world, giving an impression or the perception that things are great and that love abounds. But the reality is that we have ups and down days, good and bad moments, which I guess need to be acknowledged and need to be communicated so that other people who are finding that they've got challenges in their life understand that they are not alone, and it's common practice to feel isolated, to feel problematic from time to time, and that's just normal, and not to think that it's an extreme case. So relationships are both complex and complicated, and everything we do revolves around or is a result of the relationships that we have with people. So there are many different kinds of relationships that through our lives we will engage in, and all relationships are both complicated and complex. But it becomes even more complicated and complex once you're in a romantic relationship, because we are invited, I guess is the nice way of saying it, we are invited to live with someone, and it's an act of bravery, because you leave the comfort of your family, where your parents, your siblings let you get away with murder, so to speak, and you move into a relationship where there are enhanced expectations. And it's an act of bravery, from what these authors are saying, as you need to express and to see the vulnerabilities and the flaws of both yourself and your partner, as well as the people that surround you, parents, siblings, friends, because once you're in a relationship, a romantic relationship, there are games at play, and there are challenges that need to be addressed on a daily basis, and it's never easy. You don't just fall in love with somebody and life gets better. For many people, committing to a relationship opens up many doors and many paths, and things are interesting. Let's just say that they're interesting, and there are challenges at play that need to be resolved and need to be leveraged and need to be fixed. So the first formal point that comes out of this book from these two authors is that we definitely need to hit the relationship gym consistently. Just like you would hit a regular gym, you need to consistently show up and work out and hone your skills and sort yourself out, because relationships, as we said, are challenging, and if you don't do anything about it, then you'll lose your match fitness, you'll lose your appeal, you'll lose your drive, you'll lose so many things. So the big message that comes out of this book, where the authors shout out at the top of their voice from the top of the hill, is that we need to work at our relationships, and we need to be structured in our workouts as well, so that we can get the best outcomes, not only for ourselves, but for our partners and for the others in our various social circles and social orbits. Because everybody is involved, and everybody is impacted by the success of your particular relationship with your partner, as well as the success of your relationship with your family, your children, your work peers and others around you. Because if you're happy, if you're successful, if you're fully engaged in good working relationships, then you're going to be happy, and you're going to want to be engaged with more people and a pleasure to be around. So the author then goes on to say that each relationship, each family, each engagement between two people is different. But what we need to do is we need to seek out and to identify, document, and to continue to do and redo the things that work for you. We need to stick to successful routines that deliver good outcomes. And we need to keep the love alive. We need to keep the respect alive. We need to keep each other going, even though there are days where one partner is not feeling 100%, not 100% committed. The other needs to help them out. I remember when I was getting married in the Greek Orthodox marriage service, what the church encourages us to do is to double our joys and halve our sorrows and pains. But as we know, when you get married, sometimes there are partners who halve the joys, who are killjoys, and double the pain and suffering by amplifying the negatives and dividing and minimising the positives. So once again, there's a huge call to action to try wherever you can to be the echo, the voice of positivity, and to try and minimise the negativities and the pain. So we need to keep our relationships and our love alive. But it's difficult, as the authors say here, to stay in love. It's easy to fall in love, and a lot of people do it in a heartbeat. But the trick here, according to these authors, is to stay in love. And the way we do it, or the way that we can enhance it, is by having more shared experiences where we're creating memories and compete with each other to offer dedication and love. So as we've learnt, as we know, it's easy to know, but it's harder to practice, of course, is that when you're in a relationship, or when you're in a romantic relationship with your partner, Now, you're better off spending all of your effort giving to your partner and making their lives easier and better rather than taking, because the ones who take from relationships are the ones who drain the relationships of energy and can cause issues and problems. So the authors then go on to talk about some techniques, and the second formal point that comes out of this book is where the authors talk about a thing called a SNAP technique, which can be used to optimize a relationship. And the SNAP technique they talk about here is to start strong. And SNAP, of course, is a mnemonic for start strong, no exceptions, always act, and exercise will. So they talk about the importance of stating your intentions publicly, and that's why when people get married, it is a public service where families come together and the husband and wife get married. Some people make vows, but they get married, but it's a public act where one states publicly their intentions to the other, and as we said, families are involved, and by doing that, what happens is that you get a united front, and that because people can only support you when they know what you stand for. A lot of people keep things close to their chest and live in secrecy. But what the authors here are saying, that if you're in a romantic relationship, or if you intend to get into a romantic relationship, it's important to tell people what you stand for and how you feel, because only then they can be in a position to support you. Now, if you've got problems, if you've got challenges, and you keep them to yourself, then what you're doing is you're stealing the ability of others to help you, because they don't know that you're having problems, or they don't know what you're going through, or they don't know what you stand for. So it's important to publicly, where possible, but of course, no, you don't go and tell everybody your problems. Now, you have a confidant or two, some close friends, family members who you can share your challenges with, but people who are in a position to help you rather than to make your problems worse. One of the biggest issues that people face these days, I feel, is that they're surrounded by people whose life isn't any better than theirs, and instead of acting and helping them out with a good advice, what they basically do is they're both basically expressing their own frustrations and their own issues and living those problems out in other people's lives as well. So, if you're seeking advice or if you're seeking support, seek it from somebody who's getting things right, whose life isn't as messed up or more messed up than your life. So an important lesson is to be careful who you seek advice from, and to understand that not everybody has your best intentions at heart, and to do whatever is possible to manage and to enhance and to keep a relationship bubbling along, rather than try and destroy it by having third parties putting their nose into your business and not being supportive and helpful. So the author here talks about no days off. Now, you can't take days off from a relationship. You need to work at it every single day, every single moment, if it means something and is important to you. And we mustn't have distractions in life. What causes a lot of issues in relationships, according to these authors, are these things called distractions. Sometimes the distraction could be work. Sometimes the distraction could be a mother-in-law, father-in-law, or other people getting involved. Distractions could be friends, going places, doing things, posting things on social media, and once again, distracting a couple. And there's a whole host of keeping up with the Joneses sort of distractions that can cause damage to relationships if you don't manage it effectively and properly. So you need to turn up every day, and you mustn't take any days off from your goals, and to try and manage the distractions. And you need to follow through and do something challenging every day, because by doing things that are challenging on a daily basis, according to these authors, is that will help you build your relationship muscle, and will help you generate a healthy willpower, because at the end of the day, you basically need to commit to each other for a lifetime, and not to give up hope, throw the baby out with the bathwater every time you have a challenging time. So the authors then go on to their last formal point, where they talk about a survey here, and they talk about a thing called eudaimonia, and that means having a good spirit. So I guess what they're suggesting here, the author is suggesting, is that a relationship needs to have a good spirit as well. You need to have good intentions. You need to be on the same page so that your partner can trust that you'll be there for the tough times. And I know that a lot of people say through sickness and in health, but in reality, most people only want to be with another person in the good times and in health. So Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher who followed Socrates and Plato, talked about the importance of having a good spirit and expressing eudaimonia. And he said that you need to find a person. We all need to find a person to enable us to flourish, to blossom, to bloom, to grow, develop, and become the best possible person that we can become. And that's not easy, because a lot of people, as we've said, and what these authors allude to, are selfish, and all they want is to find a person for them to flourish, but at the other person's expense. What Aristotle is saying is that you need to find somebody who's going to help you grow, develop, and flourish, but at the same time for them to be able to flourish and blossom and bloom as well. And you do it in a way that brings out the best in both. Find a person to enable you to flourish, and because it's salvific. As we said, staying in a relationship, being in a relationship is challenging and can teach us so much about ourselves, because it forces us to know ourselves and to know the other, and to love the other in the way God loves us, to express unconditional love. Easy to say, and as we said, very, very hard to practice, because your partner is going to let you down. You are going to let your partner down. But somehow there needs to be a pact between both to enable them to stay together even through the tough and difficult times, even through those bad times, to reward somebody even though they're letting you down and hurting you, to know that by sticking to it, by committing to it, by following through, it's going to get better, and it will put you on a path to salvation. For the Greek Orthodox, I can't talk about other faiths and other religions, but for the Greek Orthodox, marriage is a salvific path which leads you to God, unites you with God, and helps you get to heaven. So, and we do this, as we said before, by expressing God's love, by being tolerant, by helping our partners, by understanding and dealing with their vulnerabilities and their weaknesses. To understand that love is not just a word, but it's an action. It's an action word that needs to be practiced, and as the author's say here, needs to be practiced every single day in order to keep it alive, to keep your relationship kicking along, and to help you express yourself as best you possibly can. So a powerful word from the wonderful Greek philosopher from 2,300, 2,400 years ago, eudaimonia, having a good spirit and not being demanding, being tolerant and allowing your partner time and space for them to grow and flourish, and vice versa, for them to allow you time and space to enable you to grow and develop. And as we said, if you're blessed with children, to be able to focus on that aspect and to once again to sacrifice, to give up of yourself for the betterment of your partner and of your children and your family. Anyway, thank you very much once again for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we've seen the rain disappear, the sun slowly burning off the cloud, and the skies hopefully turning blue. Happy Thursday to everybody, wishing you a wonderful day, and it's been an absolute pleasure spending the past half an hour talking about this wonderful book summary, which is entitled Happy Together. Happy Together by a dual authorship, where hopefully we've learned a couple of new things, a couple of things that may help us be happy together, to enable us to make sense of those challenging times that come our way, and to live a better life by learning and by becoming more aware of the science of relationships and the art of having a good relationship, by learning from others who have been able to couple together and to conglomerate the experiences of many of the people who they've probably studied in their lives. So they're always, as we said, fine examples and warnings that we need to heed. But through this OPE, we're able to learn and to incorporate it in our daily lives to enable us to be better equipped and to live a better life. Yassas everybody, take care, and I'll head off to work now. What a beautiful, beautiful morning. Look at these beautiful colours. Just never ceases to amaze me. From this single vantage point, you can get a 360-degree view of Circular Quay, the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge, as well as Campbell's Cove and the Sydney cityscape. Just magnificent. And as I say, I come down here every day, and I'm the only person here. So I've made it my little sanctuary. Yassas, take care and have a great day. Bye for now.